We're now at a place where we have a solid foundation of what's going on with Redux. Redux contains our application state, which is generated by a series of reducers that we write. That state is then modified by calling action creators. Action creators return actions which flow through middleware and then into the reducers. Whenever a new set of state is produced, it flows into our containers, and those containers re-render themselves, and the entire process repeats all over again. So, this is great for working with React and Redux, but what we haven't really learned so far is how to build really interesting applications. For example, we've covered how to fetch data, but we haven't really spoken about how to post data, like say when we are creating new entries of data on a remote server. In addition, the apps that we've built so far have always used a single screen. There's no concept of navigation within our apps. Changing the URL of the page never updates the content of the app in any way, shape, or form. So we're going to tackle these big gaps in our knowledge head first in this next section. In particular, there is a couple different topics that we're going to study in great detail. First, we're going to talk about how to navigate a user around our app. Real JavaScript applications allow users to navigate around, to see different pages of content. We need to figure out a way to add different pages to our application that the user can see. Second, and this is very closely related to the first item, we need to figure out how to load data from a backend API based on the user's current route. So say when a user navigates around an application to some different page, we need to go and fetch the relevant data before we can render that page. Finally, we need to figure out how to build useful forms that include at least a touch of validation. We've used some small forms in the previous sections in the form of say search bars, but they didn't really have any validation tied to them whatsoever. And the data that we collected was always used for a query or a GET request. We really need to figure out some way to take the data that the user enters, validate it, and then post it to a remote server and actually save that record. Okay, so let's talk about the app that we're going to build to explore some of these topics. I'm going to pull a mock-up onto my screen here, and we're going to go through it. So this app is going to be a simple blogging application. So it's going to have the usual create, replace, update, destroy type routes. But we're going to go through it step by step and make sure that it's crystal clear exactly how each step works. So the app is going to be a little bit vanilla in this section. We're not going to focus on styling very much. It's going to be kind of plain, but we're going to make sure that it's really clear exactly how to do these very core actions, these very core parts of building a real application. So let's look at the app. The first screen is what we're going to refer to as our index view. The index shows a list of all of our different blog posts that this user currently has. If they click on a blog post, so let's say click on this area right in here, we should navigate to what's called a show page, and that's this page in the middle. The show page shows a distinctly different view to the user. We're not showing a list of blog posts anymore, we're showing just a single post right here in the middle. Finally, the user can create new posts by clicking the Add Post button on the index screen over here, which will take them to a kind of compose form where they'll create a new record, a new blog post. The user can enter a title, categories for the blog post, and the actual contents for the blog post. So the bulk of the text that would consist of the actual blog post. Once they click the Save button, it'll save the record to a backend server, and then it will navigate them back to the index page. They can also click the Cancel button here just as easily and go back to the index page as well. One thing I want to pull your attention to is this text at the top of each mock. I've labeled what I call here as a route. So this route here being / means if I navigated to say blogpost.com. Let's say that we were making a website called blogpost.com. Going to just the address blogpost.com would give us the route /. It's the root directory, the very core of the app. So when a user first navigates to our app and they're at this very core route right here, they should end up seeing the list of blog posts, the index view. Similarly, when they navigate to something like posts 5, where 5 is the ID of the blog post, and so it might be, post 5, post 1000, post 2415, or what have you, they should see a blog post that corresponds with that particular ID. So the idea here is that these parts of the route that we're going to define have an actual impact and meaning within the application. Finally, the last one, post new, should just show a new form for the user to create the actual blog post. Okay, so overall, the blog post, or this app right here, is going to behave much as you would really expect an app of this type of application to behave. It's again not a kind of plain app, so we're really focusing on the functionality and making sure that we get these very core interactions done correctly, as correctly as possible. Okay, so with this in mind, we're definitely going to come back to the mock-up here several times, so I'm going to keep it close at hand. The one thing that I do want to do in this section that is very code related is just to get our boilerplate package installed. So just as before in our previous packages or previous projects, I'm at the Redux Simple Starter link right here. Make sure that you're on Redux Simple Starter. And you can use whatever set of installation directions you like right here. Just make sure that you grab a new copy of the repo so that we can get started in the next section. So I'm going to go ahead and clone it. And then I'm going to change into the directory and run an npm install. Make sure you get your dependencies installed, and while that happens, I will catch you in the next section.